Good day, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I got a load of parts to go onto my car. I've been collecting these parts over the last year. So let me show you what I've got. So we've got the front pads, the front disc. We got the rear lower control arms. As my current ones on the car, I've got a hole there starting to rust through. So that's why they need changing. We got everything to build up the two front strut legs. All the little bits that go with it to build it up. So the springs I went with are the Vogtland springs. They are 30mm lower than I think the standard ride height. So some people say if you've got the sports suspension from Ford, you're 20mm lower. So I think I've got the sports suspension, even though my car's not a Titanium X, because there's a website called Cat Car where you can put your details in and it gives you all the part numbers and it says that I've got the sports suspension. So I might only get a 10mm drop from this, which for me is not really a problem because I feel like my car's quite low anyway. So 10mm not a deal breaker for me, but for some people it might be. Okay, let me just show you the ride height now. So it's kind of low compared to a lot of other Mondeos I've seen. It is quite low. So this is why I'm thinking it's on the sports suspension, the sports springs, and also obviously that website confirms it. Now the back note now is even lower. That's mainly because I've got a full-size alloy in the boot, and I've got all the stuff, all the other parts to change that I'm going to change over. It's the strut legs that I built up. Oh yeah, one thing you have to remember when you're building it up, everything's got to line up, like from this point all the way up to these points on the top mount. And I think this needs to be off to the side just a little bit, like 6 degrees or something. That's very important, otherwise you're gonna have steering issues apparently. Alright, so got the car jacked up and it's on axle stands. The carrier is an 18mm. It's got two, one there and one at the bottom. And the caliper is number 5 Allen key piece, which is like there's a rubber bung which is there, which I've removed. One at the top and one at the bottom. Also as well, you've got to remove this retaining clip before you can pull off the caliper. So the next bolt is 13mm drive shaft bolt. You can put a screwdriver or something in there to stop it from spinning when you try and undo it. Then you've got the drop link, which is attached to the shock absorber. That is a 17mm. So I couldn't get it off without putting a little Allen key in the middle and then holding the spanner, because it's just spinning. So drop links out of the way. Then we're gonna do these bolts at the top. I'm just gonna loosen them and then I'll undo everything else so it will hold the strut in place. So next jack rod end is a 21mm bolt, and the ball joint bolt nut is a 22. Okay, so this ball joint bolt, I got it undone, but I couldn't get it to pop out. It's really stubborn, so I had to use a bit of heat. I don't recommend doing this job if you ain't got heat with you, you're gonna have problems. And the wickedest thing is, I had this out last year and it was still stuck in. So if this is the first time you're doing it, you're gonna really struggle if you don't have heat. I forgot to say disconnect the ABS sensor. So she's out now. Just gotta do the pinch bolt, but I'm gonna heat that up. I'm not even gonna try, because if that snaps on me, then I'm in trouble. So the pinch bolt is a 15 mil. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it came out pretty easy. Just use the heat and a big hammer. So I just put a bit of grease on there, and now I'm just trying to bang it down so this little notch goes in that gap. Okay, so I managed to get it in and tighten the bolts. They're not completely tight, but they're done up most of the way, and it doesn't need the support of the trolley jack anymore. Now for my favorite part, getting this stinking ball joint. I just put that there to protect the boot, because when I did the other side I ripped the boot, so I'm gonna have to change the whole control arm. So the front anti-roll bar bushing kind of sits on top of the rear part of the front control arm, and it's got this C bracket which goes over it, and you got two nuts, 22 mil nuts on top, and you have two 19 mil bolts which go through the subframe and the control arm and into the nuts on top of that C clamp. So let me show you here. So you have the bushing there on top and the C clamp, and then the bolts will go from underneath and into the nuts on top, and it will look like this when it's done. Moving on to the rear now. Now I really did want to change a lot more parts back here because everything's just corroded, but because there's this hole here, I had to do this job sooner than I wanted to do it. So today I just want to get the springs in and the lower control arms, and the drop links and all the shock absorbers and the other parts can be done at a later date. So I'm going to start by removing both of the outer bolts for the control arms, because I don't have replacements for them. So if they come out good, then if the middle ones get stuck, I can go ahead and cut them, as I have replacements for the middle ones but not the outer ones. So both of the outer bolts came out easily, so I can just knock down the control arm from the outer side and remove the springs, and then you can move on to the crusty middle ones. Now, as crusty as those nuts looked, I managed to take one off, and I've cracked the other one, so I know that it'll come off. But the bolts from the other side, they are in solid. They're not going anywhere. So I'm just gonna cut them out. The angle grinder seems to be working the best. It's got the power, and the jigsaw is good for getting in the tight spaces. So where you got to cut is in between the subframe and the control arms. Let me show you where I started. So right there. So you've got to do all 4 points. So I got them out in the end. Took a while, but I got there. The angle grinder done most of the work, but the thing is, you don't really have the accuracy when you do it. So I ended up catching the subframe a bit. Now it's quite rusty underneath here, so I'm gonna give it a little bit of rust treatment. I use Vogtland, and it goes blue like this, and then it dries like black. So I just put it in the places where I won't be able to reach when the control arms go back in. So I got the center bolts in, tried to put them in the same position they was when I took them out. As for fitting the rear spring, you need to make sure that it's seated correctly at the top and also at the bottom as well, in that rubber, which you should transfer from the old control arm unless you have a new one. Then you can use a trolley jack to lift up the whole arm to line up so you can fit the bolt in. Then you can go ahead and tighten the center bolts. Okay, so everything's back together, and I've returned to the same spot. Just show you a few shots of before and after so you can get a little comparison between the two. There's barely any difference. It did drop at the front, only 10 mil as I suspected, so I did have the sports suspension. As for the rear, it's the same, but the only difference is I removed a lot of the junk that I had in the back. So yeah, it's about a 10 mil drop front and back. Like I said before, for me, that's not really an issue. My main goal in doing all of this was just to refresh the suspension. But for some people who want their car lower, I think they're going to be really disappointed. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching.